Bank holiday Monday here across Pembrokeshire. We are going to say a very good morning to Jake Rogers, a senior beach RNLI lifeguard based in North Pembrokeshire. Good morning, Jake. Welcome to the show. And I haven't met you before, but how did you get involved with the RNLI?
Good morning. How you doing? I became a lifeguard 5 years ago. I think a lot of my family have done it. My uncle did it, my cousins did it, so it was the natural way to go, really, and just started from there.
Yeah, so a family thing that you've just grown up with, and something then that you love to do.
Yeah, that's the one, and all my friends as well. They've all done it. It was just the natural way to do things, I think, becoming a lifeguard.
Yeah.
I love that. We had Margot on last week and she kind of had a very similar story. It was like, well, the sun was out and my friends were doing it and I realized that it was something that I could do as well. Have you always been a beach-loving person and a beach-loving family?
Yeah, definitely. I've surfed since I was very little and then gone through surf clubs and stuff like that. And she's right, when the sun's out and your friends are doing it, there's nothing better you can do, really, I think.
I love that. And so you've been doing it for 5 seasons. What have been some of your like memorable highlights or memorable moments of your seasons?
Oh, wow, working with your friends isn't bad, but yeah, there's been some good rescues and stuff to remember. That's always the most fun bit, I think.
Yeah.
But so some busy days and good fun.
Have you been on the same beach for that whole time, or have you moved around a little bit? What's your favourite beach?
We move around a bit, but my favourite beach, and I work there the most, is White Sands. That's where I kind of grew up, and I've got to work there all the time now.
That's so cool. And of course, White Sands is one of those beaches that's been protected last week. It's going to be protected this week, along with Tenby South. 2 very different beaches to keep an eye on.
Yeah, 2 very different beaches, different demographics. A bit more surf at White Sands, but a bit busier at Tenby, maybe. And they're being covered all of this week then, yeah.
And one of the big things that Margot was telling us about last week was what the flags mean and the swim between the flags. You got your black and white flags if you're on your crafts as well. Just give us a very quick overview as to all the flags that you're looking out for when you go to these beaches.
Yeah, so the most important, red and yellow flags. That's what we've deemed the safest place on the beach. So that's for swimming and bodyboarding. And then you got the black and white flags, your hard craft, so surfboards, kayaks, paddleboards, etc. And then red flags, we use those to mark danger, so rip currents, and then we'll also use those to close the beach if it's extreme conditions. And then we've also got an orange windsock, so we put that up if the wind is blowing offshore, so that's blowing out to sea. If you're standing looking out to sea, it'll be at your back. And we tend to say not to use inflatables when you're doing that because you'll blow out to sea.
Gina.
Yeah, no, it's really, really good to have all these different pointers, especially, you can think, oh, it's not too windy, but of course you do all those important levels. So those flags are very, very important for anybody going down to the beach, whether you're sort of going down to just have a walk yourselves, or even if you're going on to with the family to swim, and like you say, with those inflatables. So it's just giving you that a bit of reassurance and to have you on those beaches as well.
Yeah, that's the idea. And we tend to say it can be a bit, you can turn up and there's flags everywhere, quite easy to not know what they mean. So we just say to come and have a chat if you don't know what they mean. And it's quite easy to explain it all.
Yeah. So this week then, week 2 of these Easter breaks, the condition, of course, we had Storm Dave visit us on Friday, Saturday in particular. The weather warning came in. What's it looking like if we're to be heading down to the coast this week?
So the start of the week, we've got some pretty big surf, especially on Tuesday. And with that, we've got quite strong offshore winds, like I spoke about, so no inflatables. And that big surf is really quite big on Tuesday, but we'll see how that goes. And then towards the end of the week, then getting a bit smaller, and then still offshore winds, kind of cross offshore. So keep an eye out on your inflatables this week, I think.
Yeah. Well, one thing I was going to say, because I don't really know much about surfing. I know that Tom has been a surfer and a paddleboarder in his time. But how do you know when, you want the big waves, you want that big surf, as they say. But how do you know when it's that sort of tipping point, really, of no, you shouldn't be going out?
Well, I guess you need to know your own limits slightly. But the easiest way to check is if you go on Surfline online. It's a surf forecasting website, and then you can see on there, and it says when it's really big and it says when it's smaller. It's the easiest way to tell.
That's a really cool resource to have if you're down here thinking I don't know where to look. It was that Surfline on the website to have a look there. You mentioned there about the flags. You mentioned the windsock, which you're going to be flying because of those offshore winds. You don't want people drifting out to sea unsuspectingly. But there was also, with the Storm Dave that was coming in, there was things about red flag. What does that red flag mean?
Yeah, so the red flag's really important. We primarily use it to mark dangers. So most of that being rip currents that take you out to sea. So if you see a red flag, basically don't go in the water in front of that. We'll also use them when it's more extreme conditions. If there's just a red flag flying, we've closed the beach and we're advising you not to go in the water. But yeah, basically red means danger. It's not a good idea to go in front of that.
There you go. Gina.
Well, danger could come at any sort of time, even when the conditions are great out there. It could happen to any of us any of the time. And there's the message that you've got about the floating. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so float to live, that's probably our best safety tip. If you're in trouble in the sea and struggling to stay afloat, the best thing to do is spread out like a starfish, arms and legs out, and tilt your head back until your ears are submerged under the water. And take a minute to get your breath back, and that'll help you float. And then when you've regained your energy, you can take it from there.
Right.
There you go. We've got Diane Watkins watching along and learning hopefully something life-saving. If you are in trouble in the water, maybe you've come off your paddleboard, you've got your phone in your waterproof pouch, or you notice someone floating or out to sea, what's the best number to call if you see someone in danger at the coast?
Yeah, so that's super important. The best number is 999, and you ask for the Coast Guard, and you tell them everything you can see, and they'll do the rest.
Yeah. And where can we find more information if we're looking for the safest beaches to visit around Pembrokeshire?
So obviously, first port of call is if you can go to your lifeguarded beach, come speak to us, and we'll tell you everything we can. But if you're not sure on where that is, if you go on the RNLI website, there's a whole list of beaches that are lifeguarded and when they'll be open.
Brilliant. And you're lifeguarding those two beaches, as we said, for the rest of this week, and then you'll be back on duty for that May bank holiday. Is that right?
Yeah, that's the one. So we're on until Sunday, the end of this week, and then we'll be back on the 2nd of May at White Sands for the May bank holiday.
Fantastic. And the RNLI, of course, it's a charity organisation. It's predominantly volunteer-led. Gina mentioned the RNLI duck race that's taking place. There's lots of ways to help fundraise for the RNLI and keep these beaches protected. There's also an event coming up in Haverhub. I want to mention that as well, in aid of the Paul Sartori and the RNLI, a rock night on the 18th of April. That's Saturday, 18th of April. So you can help support these wonderful courses. Or, of course, G, like you, but retail therapy, you can find one of the shops.
Oh, I love shopping. And I know that you've got some fantastic shops around the county, including in Broadhaven and also down in Saundersfoot as well. And, you can support by doing your shopping for the RNLI.
Lovely. We're going to hear from a member of your team at the end of May to coincide with that bank holiday for more safety tips around the beach. But in the meantime, Jake, we're taking requests today. What song do you want to hear at 8:30 this morning?
I thought about this one. I would love to hear Money by Pink Floyd, please.
Money by Pink Floyd. Jake, it's on the way next. Enjoy your bank holiday Monday. Thank you so much for giving up your morning to chat with us today.
Thank you very much, both of you. Cheers.
Cheers now.
Bye-bye.
Wake up with Gina and Tom, weekdays